Coming up next is the Dr. Kim Taylor Show. Here's your chance to talk about what matters to you. Although you'll receive helpful advice from Dr. Kim, remember this is not to be construed as any form of psychotherapy, diagnosis or treatment, and cannot replace a therapeutic relationship with a mental health professional. You can reach Dr. Kim by calling 564-1290 or 866-564-1290. You can also listen live on the internet at drkimtaylorshow.com. Now, here's Dr. Kim.
Oh, and it's so good to be back after taking a week off. It's been a while since I've had the time away, so it was really nice to just relax, kick back, and be with my friends. It's always such a good time to step away once in a while and reflect on life and one's goals. I found myself wondering, how much time do others spend reflecting on their life's purpose, and if others are following their dreams? So I wanted to just kind of run this past you. Are you doing what you love to do? Or do you dream of doing something different but are afraid to pursue it? Are you living an ordinary life, just going through the motions day in, day out, without any real fulfillment? What if you could live your dream? What would it be? I want you to take a moment. If you could imagine yourself doing something else, what would you be doing? Where would you be doing it? And whom would you be doing it with? Now, I'm sure that you know or have met people who are passionate about their life and the work that they do. They are excited to get up in the morning because they're filled with passion and purpose, and they care about what they do. This kind of passion comes from loving what you do and being able to enjoy the process of reaching your goals. And finding your true passion and having the courage to follow it is exactly what we're talking about today. Being able to pursue what you're passionate about is a key component for living a happy, healthy life. And the more passionate you are about what you do, the more energy you will have to dedicate toward the creation of your own dreams. Well, being passionate about what you're doing in your life can be a reason to wake up in the morning. The truth is that not everyone knows exactly what their passion is right away. But don't worry. Whether you're looking for your passion to find a new career, or if you're looking to get completely immersed in a new hobby or activity, there are a number of things that you can do to find your passion. So today my guest is Dave FRESILLI. He is a holistic health practitioner, and we are going to be talking about finding your passion and following your dreams. So if you have a question, please feel free, just call in today at 564-1290 or email me at drkim at Dr. Kim Taylor Show, and we will be answering your questions on air. What is your passion? What keeps you from pursuing it? How can you get back on track? What is your next step? That is what we're going to be talking about today. And if you would like to join in this conversation, and if you have a question, then just pick up the phone and give me a call. I'm Dr. Kim, and I'll be right back with my guest after these short messages.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
Today we're talking about finding your true passion and following your dreams. And my guest is Dave FRESILLI. He is a holistic health practitioner and a personal trainer, as well as owner of Holistic Health and Fitness. And Dave has really dedicated his life to the teaching and practice of holistic health and fitness modalities which integrate the whole person. He's also a returning guest to my program. So, Dave, I really want to welcome you and thank you for coming on the program.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Kim. I love coming on this program.
Good. We are really talking about that for a lot of people. they can be lucky and they can find their passion very early in their life, and they're able to follow their dreams. And sometimes they know it right off, and sometimes it comes to them, but it comes to them early. But for most people, they're not as certain about their life's mission. And I think it's really important that they know that they don't need to worry that if it doesn't come quickly, it still can come. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is really the process of realizing your dream or the passions in your life. So my question to you, and to kind of start off, is how can we go about creating and living that dream? Because would you agree that really the first step is that you have to open your mind to allow your imagination to really flow?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely lovely the way you put that, because it is. Everything, our imagination is so limitless. The challenge is that most people put limits on it. They get caught up in a lot of their fears and worries, so they're afraid to step out, in a sense, and really allow themselves to dream and give themselves that permission. I mean, as children, we're allowed to do that, but at some point that starts being suppressed in us because we're getting older, and they're saying, okay, you got to grow up a little bit and you got to stop daydreaming. But when we start to truly realize that it is that instance of imagination that allows us to fully see our potential, that's when we really start to discover who we are, what really turns us on, what our passions are, the things that really excite us in life. And so just as you said, allowing ourselves and giving ourselves the permission to literally imagine what it would be like to be something that we truly, truly desire to be is the first place to start.
Okay, and I think it's great that you said that there's a lot of things that get in the way of being able to do that, whether it's that should list, or whether it's because we're trying to conform, or because we're trying to fit in, or because we're trying to get people to like us. We can often lose our own sense of what's right for us. So let's talk about some ways in which we can move past that, because all of that is mainly about fear, correct?
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah. And really, when we get down to, and you're much better at this than I, being the therapist, but what I've fully encountered in my life and with everybody that I work with and the studies that I do is that everything that stops a person, on the outer shell, it might be something like, this is really bothering me, I'm afraid about this, I'm afraid he's going to leave me or she's going to do this, or I'm not smart enough, all these kind of superficial issues that seem to be there. But when we really get to the deepest part of it, it comes from a place of fear, and behind that fear, the deepest part is doubt. So when we as people move forward in our life, anytime that we start developing doubt, that doubt then sets up a feeling of fear, and then that fear sets up a physical sense, literally a visceral feeling of anxiety, which is stress. So it goes from a position of doubt to fear to anxiety and stress, and that's when, at that surface level of anxiety, stress, we're really coming up with reasons why we can't do something. But you're right, it absolutely always comes back down to fear.
Wouldn't you say also that each and every time that we set out to reach a goal, or even to just say, I want something, that right after that, it's like our fear comes up really quickly to either stop us or to make us doubt ourselves. And there's that anxiety. Because for sure, when I started this program and thought, okay, I'm going to kick it up a notch here and I'm going to test myself and see if I can go out there and do that, it was really something that I did want to try. But boy, right after that, I hadn't been that scared in a really long time. So I had to deal with my own old fears, because they weren't new fears. They were really old fears that came up that made me doubt myself, doubt whether I could, doubt whether I had, the skills, etc. Yeah. So it really takes a lot to work through that in order to reach your goals. Yes.
So the first thing we want to understand is how is that fear and that doubt actually being developed? Where is it coming from? Because what we've done through our past experiences in life and what we've been exposed to is we've developed a set of belief systems, so what we call our values and our beliefs. And when we look at the science of that, we'll call that paradigms, which are habitual ways of the way we think about ourselves and about the world around us. And we will circle all that with the word of our self-image. So our self-image is really an autopilot for us, exactly the same way as an autopilot is for a plane. So the way that works is you get up in a plane, and the pilot, once we get out to elevation, they set the course from, say, Los Angeles to Connecticut. I don't say Connecticut because that's where I'm from. So that's the autopilot. So no matter what happens, the wind blows too hard to the north or the south, the plane starts to veer off, but that autopilot automatically corrects and pulls the plane back in, makes the correction so that at the end you're circling over Connecticut. This is exactly the way your self-image, these paradigms, these habitual ways of thinking, our value, our belief system, I'm talking about the same thing. All this resides in your subconscious. And so that is our guiding force through our life. It is our software that we've been programmed with, and we've basically programmed ourselves with that. So anytime you veer away from that, so for instance, you gave the example of starting the show. So I know you, we've worked together, you're a highly, highly talented person, incredibly intelligent, competent, you are very funny, you're amazing. So I would sit back as a person who knows you and say, well, yes, of course you'll be fantastic at this. Why would you even worry about that? But your self-image that is developed over your lifespan, once you step out of that and try to do something new, whether it's new and exciting and wonderful and, oh my gosh, this will be incredible, or if it's something that's not, no matter which one it is, if it's off track of that software, that autopilot, as soon as you step out of that and start doing something different, the autopilot's going to pull you back on course to what it knows itself to be, and you're going to set up feelings of doubt automatically, and those doubts turn into fears. And then the fears rise up into that anxiety where you're going to be able to somehow intellectually come up with reasons why you can't do what you really want to do. I'm not good enough. I don't know about this. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I also like to think about it is that our fear is a self-protective guide that is there should we need it. And that's how I get through things like this, is I think about my fear as my friend. It's there to warn me, to say there's possible danger. You may fail, you may get rejected, you may have this happen or that happen. And it gives me an excuse just in case I need it, because I don't believe that I can actually survive what might be out there. But as soon as I tell myself that even if that happens, even if I fail, even if this or that, I will still survive, I will be okay, then I can let that go and move on. So when we kind of befriend this and don't think of it as a bad thing and don't think about it as a place to stop, but just a place to take a pause and reassure yourself you're okay, and then you can go forward.
Yeah. And I love the way you said that the fear is a self-protective mechanism. And it is. That's exactly what it is. It gives us a moment to step back, take pause, and look at what the actual situation is, and then make a true reasonable decision on, is this something that is truly going to help me move forward in my life towards what I want to create, all the good stuff, or is it something that is going to be pulling me away from that? And I would suggest that in that position, when you ask that question, if it is that whatever I'm about to do is pulling me completely off track of what I truly want to create in my life, I would tell you not to go down that path. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that you can stay focused on. So when you start developing, we're talking about your passions and your big dreams in life. Once you determine what that is, and we'll talk about that later, hopefully, then you use that as a filtration system for every thought and every occurrence that happens in your life. So you can then say, this is my big passion, my dream, that my goal that I'm going to create in my life. Is this going to help me create it, or is it going to pull me away from it?
And one of the things that I know, having worked with you, and when you trained me was that you would always say that people can achieve so much more than what they believe themselves capable of.
Yeah.
And that it is our mind that sabotages our own best efforts. So tell people out there about how you help people like me get past that.
Yeah. The first thing, no matter what, is getting people, again, to understand how and where this is coming from, so that self-image. Because once we can put our thumb on it and say, okay, the reason I'm acting the way I'm acting is because there is this software in my subconscious, which is, again, my self-image, and that's where I move from. That's who I know myself to be, all the good and all the challenging things that I deal with. It's kind of just my guidance system. So once we know that that's where it's coming from, then we can say every time we're in that situation and we start to feel panicked or fearful or doubt, we can say the only reason I'm feeling that is because it's my old programming that is trying to tell me, don't step outside of who I am because this is all I know. So that's the first thing. And then from there, we can start building a new self-image with that person. So when I work with clients, the first thing is we start to discover right away what that old self-image is, and that's very clear once you start learning how to do this, because what we can all do is if you look at a person and you watch them for a day and see how they talk and see how they act with people and see how much money they make in their relationships, et cetera, and their bodies, that literally, if you wrote down everything about that person, that would tell you basically what their software is, how they feel about themselves, their self-worth, their physical appearance, how they're treating themselves, how they treat others. That will tell you, because you cannot deviate from that because it is your guidance system. So what we want to do is get people to understand that and then start getting them to actually create and find that passion and that dream. So you had mentioned in the beginning of the show that a lot of people are blessed early on that they know what their dream is. But then most of us, including myself, came about this as I got older and had life experience and tried different things and then realized what it truly was that I was passionate about. And so once we start getting a client to understand what that is, they get excited, and that becomes the driving force in their life. And then from there, with that dream and passion, we develop that into their subconscious.
You are talking about being able to condition the mind to change that subconscious,
Yeah.
But that you have to practice it. And, of course, you're going to tell me once more that I have to do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that you have to change the negative messages into something that is positive so that you can condition your mind with that which serves you rather than that which sabotages you.
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a quick break here, but we're going to come right back and start talking about how we move past this so that we can create our dreams.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
Today we're talking about finding your passion and following your dreams. So if you have a challenge in your life that you're facing, or if you could use some advice, try calling in, because I would really wonder how you feel about this topic and whether you want to share what's going on with you. So you can give me a call again at 805-564-1290, or you can email me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. I'm here with my guest, Dave FRESILLI. He is a holistic health practitioner, and he is a returning guest. Dave, we've been talking about how important it is in this whole process of finding your passion and creating the life that you want, that you must be willing to let go of the past so that you're not carrying it into the present and then further into the future. This is going to take a lot of effort and a commitment to be willing to do this. So what do we need to tell ourselves? What do we need to do as kind of a step-by-step process to begin this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first thing I would love to say with what you were just mentioning was, even though it can feel like a big process and it can feel scary, I would like everybody to realize, first of all, how amazing you are, and that you have all the potential in the world to live the life you truly want. No matter where you are right now, no matter what you might be dealing with, you do. You truly, truly do. So this is what we want. Even if you have never figured out what your passion is, and I've had clients that I've had to deal with this on where I'll just ask them and they'll say, I have no idea what I'm passionate. I'm not passionate about anything. So if you're there, that's okay. Within you, there is a big passion and a big dream. We just have to allow it to come out because it's there. It's not like you have to find it. You have to just let it out. So here's the first thing you'd love to do. You need to, again, allow yourself to really start thinking about all the things that you love to do. So usually what I do is I'll have a client, who, if they're in this position, is I'll have them write down everything they love to do. Make that list as long as possible. It could be 100 things, even more. And then from there, start breaking that list down into your top 20. And then from there, we go down and we just break it down until we get down to the top 4, 5, 6 things. And then what usually starts to happen along that process is because people start going, well, I really do like to do that, but I mean, I'm not passionate about it. But then they start really starting to get their brain to think about what it is. And then when we get down to those last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things, then you can start to see how many of those things can actually come together as one whole passion that they can do. So, for instance, I'll give you mine. I did this many, 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 many years ago, and I had a big list. But what it came down for me is I loved health. I loved this whole fitness thing. I loved nature. I loved this whole spirituality and how to live a life, really live a life full of passion. So I put all those together and I said, how am I able to do that? How am I able to live it? How am I able to express it and share it with others? And what it came down to is I want to be able to experience it myself and then teach it to other people. Mm-hmm. And literally that's what I do now at Holistic Health and Fitness is when I'm working with my clients. We work with them as a fully integrated approach with all those things. So what we want to do is we want to get very clear and detailed about what that desire looks like. So we get to the point where we start recognizing what our desire is or our passion is. And listen, it could be needlepoint or being the best mom in the world or being the most amazing trick rider, horseback rider in the world or a bull rider or whatever, it doesn't matter. But you need to get very clear and detailed about what that desire looks like and what it feels like in the present tense, as if you're already living it now. So you create the belief that you're in it now, that you're actually doing it by visualization and by affirmations and by living it in your daily life. Now, that's a process, as you had said, and you want to take your time with this. So the first thing, again, is to allow yourself to list what it is that you truly love to do in life, mm-hmm. and then break that list down to the core elements of what it is, and then look and see if you can then, from there, either take them singly or combine them into one big passion.
And so being able to first sit in a quiet place and not have any kind of distractions going on,
right.
Have a pencil and paper with you, and then mm-hmm. start to ask yourself questions like, what do I love? What makes me happy? What gets me excited to get up in the morning? And as you start to ask yourself questions, some of these small things will start to come up. And what you're talking about is you took a lot of these small things and then combine them. So some people are going to have that kind of list where mm-hmm. you're going to be able to see, wow, if I could put all of this into one idea or one job or one career, that would fit for me and that would make me feel that kind of passion. Some people will just have one, like they want to play piano.
That's exactly it.
Okay. All right. So that is definitely something that everybody can start to do.
Absolutely. And again, you have to allow yourself permission to actually do that, because I guarantee, as you also know, a lot of folks are stuck and they're literally afraid, believe it or not, to sit down and actually do something like this. Because once they start doing it, they already know inside that once they come up with that answer, which they know is already in there, then they're like, oh my gosh, now that I know what it is, I have to do something about it, which is a whole
Well, that's when you have to start to deal with your fears about it and your feelings of unworthiness or that you're not good enough.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then that's when we have to go back to, where is that fear coming from? It's just the old self-image, which we can change.
Right. What I find today is that it's really common for people to want the instant gratification, and or that they see others that obtain some kind of great success, or they see that they have very little talent. Or I have people who come to me and say that they become depressed just looking on Facebook and Pinterest because they see everybody else's life looking so happy and looking like they have these perfect lives that they feel defeated before they start. What would you say to them?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, well, again, I know it sounds redundant, but here's really this is why it's so simple yet so challenging, is we don't see how this is happening in our lives. It goes back to that self-image. The reason you're having these feelings about looking on Facebook and Pinterest and looking at everybody else's life is because you're being driven by this old self-image of unworthiness, not good enough, everybody else is better, I've always wanted but I can't have. So we always need to start there. That gives, when you start grasping this, it gives an incredible amount of power back to you to say, wait a minute, this isn't anything, the outside things that I'm experiencing in my life are just that. It is me through my self-image that is creating this perception of what's going on. But again, the perception, how we feel about things, what we think, is only coming from that self-image. So once we grasp that, we start really engaging ourselves in the power that we have to actually say, wait a minute, I don't have to believe that. I can create a new belief that I'm confident, that I'm incredibly loving and incredibly loved, and I'm healthy, and I have a wonderful life, and I'm incredibly grateful for what I have, and now I want to create even more that I can share with other people. And that's when you stop worrying about everybody else, and you start giving back to yourself.
So you are always going to have that fear, that's just part of the process. But on the flip side of that is also the positive. And it really depends, and this is what I'm hearing you saying too, is that which one that you're going to focus on. If you focus on the negative and you just stay in that fear, then you're going to feed that, and that's going to become stronger and stronger. If you can look at the positive and build on that one and that side will become more positive and more powerful. Yeah,
absolutely. So in a biblical phrase, they say you can only serve one master, right? You can't serve two masters. Well, in this case, the two masters would be, here's how I feel about this right now, but I have this want, this desire to create something else in my life. So you may start focusing on, I'm going to think, all right, I'm really healthy. I have a wonderful relationship with my husband or my wife or whatever it is that you're focusing on that you want to create. Yet the challenge is you're still going to be pulled back by that old self-image until you condition your subconscious to start truly believing that your dream, whatever it is truly happening, is the truth. Because your subconscious cannot judge anything. It cannot say this is good, this is bad. It can only accept what you tell it to be true. So we can use that. That's a tool. And we can say, if that happens, if that's true, if what Dave is saying is true, then if I focus with deep, joyful emotion on what I truly want in my life, my desire, my passion, then I will entrain that and ingrain that into my subconscious, and I will then void out my old self-image to a greater degree where it doesn't have a hold on me anymore, and this new self-image of what I'm creating will then begin to move me in my life to make that happen. So the fear will always be there no matter what, but now we know where it's coming from. We don't have to give ourselves over to it. We can say, oh, It's kind of like we can say, oh, look at that. That's so funny. My old fears are coming up again, but I know where it's coming from. That's just my old self-image. That's not who I am anymore. It's just residual noise back there, and I can move on without that. So you may still have some fear when you're doing something, but it doesn't stop you anymore. So, for instance, these phone interviews, this can be a little scary sometimes. So every once in a while I get some butterflies in my stomach, especially beforehand. But then once I get into it, I'm like, oh, this is just Kim. I remember this. This is lovely. I love this. Oh, my gosh, yay.
Yes. And I actually love the way that you say that you have to be able to befriend this fear, to understand it for what it is, and then to be able to move past it. Because we all have within us this calling or this quest to find a purpose, to have a meaning in our life. And we really need to be able to move through and move past this fear in order to get there. So we need to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
Our life's purpose is to really discover our passion through the gifts that we do have. And a passion for life and finding one's life purpose can sometimes come slowly, but it can develop over time. And I'm here now with Dave FRESILLI, who is my guest, and he is a holistic health practitioner. And Dave, I have an email that I'd like to read to you and see what you say about this.
Sure.
It says, I know that I'm supposed to have a passion and that by this time in my life I should know what it is, but I don't, and I'm 57 years old. I have been a mother and wife, but now my children are grown and out of the home. I feel that this is my time now, but do not know where to start in order to plan for the rest of my life. Is it enough to just be a mother and wife, or should I be looking for more purpose? And how would I start that process? I think part of my problem is that I just go along with others because I don't want to rock the boat or make others uncomfortable. Maybe I'm just passionate about keeping the peace.
Oh, that's fantastic. That it really, really is. Well, I would say, first of all, if you are passionate about being a mother and a wife, then that's your passion. There's nothing, that's amazing. We've all heard, being a mom and a wife is a full-time job, right? And you never get paid for it. So, one of my sisters.
And it never ends.
And it never ends. That's very true. My mother's still going, stop calling me. But I have one of my sisters who, that's all she's ever wanted to be, was a mom and a wife. And you can tell it's her passion by the way she raises her family and takes care of her family and her husband. I mean, you can tell she's just filled with overwhelming love and joy for what she does. Now, having said that, being 57 means absolutely nothing because many people don't find their passion until they're in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now the thing is that most people think, oh my gosh, I should have known that earlier and I could have spent my whole life doing it. But that's not the case. When you know your passion, that is the perfect time to start it. So I would say that, first of all, if you feel, you said you feel like you're about to start, you're opening up now to being who you truly feel yourself to be, this is the time to go within now. You've given your life to your family and your children, and you've done an absolutely wonderful job. And it sounds like you're someone who loves to take care of other people and, again, make sure that the boat isn't getting rocked. Now I would say it is time for you to go within and truly, as Dr. Kim had mentioned, start asking yourself those really fun questions. What is it I really loved to do when I was a child? What have I always thought and seen other people do that I said, man, that looks like just such an amazing career? What is it that you do as little hobbies on the side? And start making a list of just broad ranges of those types of things. Ask yourself those questions and allow yourself the time to answer it. So you have to quiet your mind down so that these things can come to you. Because if you just bombard yourself with questions and never allow yourself to answer it, you'll never have answers. So give yourself that time and be gentle with yourself. But think of it as a very, very fun game because it truly is. And the more fun you can make it, the more excited you can get about it, the faster the answers will come. So you could say, getting very quiet and then either asking yourself, or if you feel more comfortable, asking God, whoever your God is, you can say, God, what is it that I truly would love to do? And a lot of times just by giving that to someone else, in this case God, you'll allow your subconscious to open up and say, I've always wanted to be whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there you can step forward into saying, maybe I want to be a ballroom dancer. There's nothing wrong with that. You can start that at 57. Maybe you love quilting. Mm-hmm. There are people who quilt now and actually do very well as a profession and have podcasts, and they actually make a lot of money. It's pretty crazy.
Well, and one of the things that I would say here, too, is that for her to be able to just take a look at her own life right now, and maybe there's already something that she's doing or something that she loves about this that she could channel into something else and something more. But that most times it's right there. It's really close, that if you just close your eyes and let yourself go there, that go with what you love, go with what you would do whether or not you'd get paid for it, because that's certainly how I found my passion. Is I would do this therapy business whether or not I got paid for it. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, right?
Right, don't ever.
But it's just something that I was, I think, born to do. It's just what comes in a very natural way. And most times where our passion lies is through the gifts that we already have, and we don't realize that we could actually create that or make that a bigger part of our lives. And because it comes so naturally, oftentimes people disregard the gift, or they don't think about it as important, but it's right under there that you'll probably find your passion.
And that is so true. And again, talking to the person who emailed in, you never want to go into this finding your passion and your dream with any restrictions. So you never want to think about, oh, I could never make a living doing that, or, oh, that would be too hard, or, oh, I'd have to go back to school to learn how to do that. You take all that away from the table, because that's just stifling your imagination. Don't worry about any of that stuff. It will all show up for you, trust me. Once you figure out what it is, it'll all fall into place for you as time goes on. And you said a lovely thing, that it is the gifts that you're given that a lot of times we think, oh, well, yeah, big deal. Everybody says I'm really good at that, but it's just easy for me. That's a gift, because a lot of people aren't good at that stuff.
Exactly.
So that alone could be something that your career is waiting for you to just say, if you just now start focusing your energies on actually sharing this with more and more people. In my view, you are here to express and experience what truly makes your heart sing. That will be your passion in life, and will make a very fulfilling life. So it doesn't matter what that is. So again, if it's needlepoint, or if it's public speaking, or if it's being the best lawyer that's there, or if it's being the most amazing chef, or listen, you said that you were a mom and you raised kids. My guess is you're really, really good at reading and telling stories. If that is a passion for you, guess what? That could be a beginning to where you then become a writer of children's books. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you just go and you volunteer at the libraries and you do the children's reading book hours, and that brings so much fulfillment into your life.
So first step is really just to write down all those things you've always dreamed about, but that you haven't done, whether it's because of time or money, or because you think it's impractical, or because it's slightly scary, because most of the time it's that thing that's slightly scary that is what gets us excited. So it has to scare you a bit, or else you're not going to find your passion behind it, because that means that it is meaningful and important to you if you're a little bit scared about it.
Exactly.
This is a lot of brainstorming that first has to happen. And the main point here is don't edit the list to start out with. Right. Just let it go. Just be free to put everything down. Probably take, a few days, maybe weeks to actually really work on this list, and then start to do the filtering by asking yourself some of the questions about which is the more important and which one do I really want to do, and how can I fit these together. Right.
You have to give yourself plenty of time, because you have to remember you're learning how to open your mind up. So if you give yourself, a handful of days or a week or a month, you don't put any time frame on it, because listen, we're talking about your passion. Why would you say, well, I'm going to give myself 3 days to figure out my passion. If I don't, then I'm going to stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's your passion. That should be something like, I'm going to do this until I find out what my passion is, because once you get that, it won't matter how much time it took you to find it.
One of the things that I think gets in the way sometimes, and I think we need to talk about this, and we just have a couple of minutes to talk about it, is that sometimes people get afraid because they don't feel like they have this strong passion, and so they feel like they've already failed because it isn't coming to them strong. So what they can do instead is to just follow their natural curiosity, and that will lead you to your passion. It does not have to come in one fell swoop, but just follow the things that you are naturally curious about. And let that kind of start this journey for you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would say in trying to sum this up in just 1 minute?
I would tell everybody, no matter where you are in life, this is the time to be bold. This is your life. If you're not happy with your life, if you haven't found your passion yet, you want to be bold now. You want to throw the gauntlet down and say, I'm going to discover my passion, and I'm going to give myself time to figure out what that is. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that when you do, your life is going to open up, and you're going to see gifts come to you from all over. It is absolutely crazy, but it does. And people are going to say, my God, why weren't you doing this before? Because you are so happy now that you're living your dream. And you're meant to live your dream.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. And it can all happen just one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Okay. Dave, thank you very much for being with us. I will definitely put all of your info up on my website.
Thank you.
Yes, it was an hour that went by very quickly, but I'd love to have you come back again, and there are other things that I'm sure we have to talk about.
I would love to.
Okay, and just give us your email quickly.
Yeah, so the email is david@holistichealth-fitness.com.
Okay, and I will definitely post that too.
Wonderful.
All right, I'll be right back with some closing comments.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
That was a really quick hour full of great info, and if you miss any of it, you can certainly go to my website at drkimtaylorshow.com or go to iTunes and download the podcast there. I will also post my guest contact information on my website for you to have. So thank you for joining me, and I certainly hope that you will join me again next Thursday afternoon, live at 5, where once more we're going to open up the hour to answer your questions and to talk about what's on your mind. So I'm definitely going to be here, and I hope that you will be here too. Don't forget also to listen to the rebroadcasts right here at KZSB AM 1290, Thursday evenings at 10 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 9. And you can send questions or comments or the emails to me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. I want to thank my new engineer, Mark Giles, for being here and helping me to get this on the air. I am just really excited to be in this drive time hour with you. It's going to be every Thursday afternoon at 5, so I really do want to hear from you in this new time. So get ready to join me next Thursday afternoon at 5. Meanwhile, what I want to say to you is have a great week. And don't forget that no one else has to change in order for you to get better. That what you heard today is that it's up to you, that you're the one that gets in your own way, but that you can pursue your dreams. You just have to be willing to open up your mind, to dream a little, and go about doing the hard work of taking the steps to get there. I'll talk to you again next Thursday afternoon, live at 5. Take care.